Hello, hello, hello. This is Coach Paula. Welcome to the first Titration Talk of 2026. Yay! Titration Talks I love and appreciate because they're the time where we get the opportunity to just come together and share and titrate one another. You know, those itty bitty, small little micro changes that ultimately make a big impact. And so today's focus is reclaiming the truth of who you are. Reclaiming the truth of who you are. So, for those of you that are Academy students, you'll already know this, but for our community members that are joining us, I'd just like to outline at the start of the year what our theme is for 2026 and kind of give you a little bit of direction how titration talks function and what they do. So, indulge me with that quick moment. So, our theme for 2026 is root in 2026 or root in 26. We take a four-letter word every year at the PH Academy and name that as our anchoring direction for the year. Last year was live in 25 and 2026 is root in 26. We take those four letters, R, O, O, and T, and we create a focus word. And that becomes the word we focus on for a given quarter. So root, it's reflect, order, own, and thrive. And so those will be our four focus words for each quarter. So this is quarter one. And so we're in the zone of reflect. And so for the first 3 months of this year, we'll talk about reflecting. But we'll take those 3 months and we will use the AIM methodology, which is Coach Paula's coaching methodology. AIM is awareness, intention, and momentum. Because you become aware, then you set an intention about the awareness. And then once that intention is set, you build momentum. But then guess what? As you're building momentum, you become aware again and the cycle continues. And so that's what we will do. For this month of January, we will reflect on awareness. And then in February, we'll reflect on intention. And then in March, we'll reflect on momentum. That will be our quarterly three-prong focus. And then second quarter, we'll start all over again with another word. So that's kind of the background to understand how the Academy flows and what we do. Titration Talks is just one of 6 methods of teaching that we have within the Academy. And so the Titration Talks are the second Friday of every month at 12 noon for 30 minutes, a small investment for a big return. And so you can come and either live or watch the replay and participate. And so this month we're at the intersection of reflect and awareness. And so our focus is reclaiming the truth of who you are. So now that I've given you that backdrop, let's kind of jump in. So today we're not here to chase answers. That's not why we're here today. Today we are reclaiming something that's a little bit deeper. We're here to remember the truth of who we are, not the version that we perform. And we can perform pretty well sometimes. Not the version that we protect, because we often protect ourselves, but it's the version that we remember when everything gets quiet and still. That's the version that we want to reclaim. And so ultimately, titration is how we get there. A small investment for a big return. It's where we slow down long enough to hear ourselves again. We don't rush the truth here at PH Academy. We return to the truth. So let's dig into this. I'd like to introduce the 4 movements that we will be doing in this quarter. And so this is a little different this year in the Academy. For each quarter, we are taking 4 words and allowing them to anchor our instruction and our lessons. Because we believe that a year built on truth begins with what you choose to remember, reflect, reinforce, and rebuild. And so these 4 movements, they're not just something to be poetic or to just sound good. They are practical tools. They are ultimately what helps you to root into what matters the most, so that then you can grow from a place of integrity. And so these are the 4 anchor words for quarter 1. And so in our buffer zone, which is another one of our components of teaching, and also throughout the other 4 components of teaching, we will be interweaving these 4 anchor words: remembering, reflecting, reinforcing, and rebuilding. And then when we get into the intention module and the momentum modules, we will continue to do the same thing, as we will focus on these 4 words over the entire quarter. And so remember, a year built on truth begins with what you choose to remember, reflect, reinforce, and rebuild. So how do we reclaim the truth of who we are? Well, I'm glad you asked. That is where we use the PH Truth Tool. Y'all know Coach Paula loves to give you tools and resources. And so I want to give you a tool that helps you to return to yourself, one layer, one letter at a time. It is called the PH Truth Tool. It is a self-honesty tool for reclaiming who you are. And so as you can see on the left, this tool is rooted in 2 foundational truths. Truth does not overwhelm, it reveals. Truth does not come to overwhelm you, it comes to reveal. And secondly, truth does not rush, it allows you to return you to yourself. When somebody's trying to rush me or trying to make me do something in a hurry, I take great exception to that. I don't like to be rushed. Now, I'm not slow in decision making, but I don't like to be rushed. When I feel someone's putting pressure on me to do something, then I kind of step back and say, okay, let me just have a moment, to do that. And so that's how truth is. It's not here to rush us. It allows us to return ultimately to ourselves. And so this is the tool. This is what it looks like. And so I want to step us through each of these components one at a time. And I'll give you an opportunity at the end to secure this tool and put it in your toolbox yourself. So let's step through these tools. First T is tell the story without the spin. Now, y'all know we can put a good spin on things, but we want to tell the story without the spin. We want to start with what is actually happening. No excuses, no exaggeration, no judgment, just the plain truth, right? And so in this layer, we're going to ask ourselves, what is true right now? Without the spin, without, the extra stuff. What is true right now? Tell the story without the spin. R, we're going to reveal the truth. Now, revealing the truth, or revealing the root, that is because we got to get to the root of the matter, right? A lot of times what we see is the fruit, but we don't want to look at just the fruit. We want to ultimately get to the root, because that's really what is happening. Because what you're reacting to is rarely what the real issue is. There's generally something underneath. It could be a fear, it could be a desire, it could be a calling and an opportunity, but we've got to get ultimately to the root and not just focus on the fruit. So in this layer, you're going to ask yourself, what is this really about? Not what I see, not what's obviously in front of me, but what is this really about? Then we're going to uncover the unspoken need. Because at the heart of it, every truth, it carries a need. It does. That need could be clarity. That need could be courage. It could be boundaries. It could be rest. It could be alignment. It could be confusion. But you got to uncover what that spoken need is. Because if you don't name it, if you don't name the need, then how can you meet it? How do you know what you're aiming towards? How do you know what you're working towards if you don't name it? And so here in this layer, we're going to ask ourselves questions like, what need have I been ignoring? Yeah, what need have I been ignoring? Second T, tell yourself the whole truth. You know, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me, God. Don't just give yourself a partial. Give yourself the whole truth, not the convenient truth, not the partial truth, not the jaded truth. No, give the whole naked truth. And here we're going to ask ourselves, what truth about myself have I been avoiding? Be honest. Y'all know I like to say hot. Be honest, open, and transparent. Do that. Yes, tell the whole truth. Don't leave anything out. And then lastly, after you've stepped through these 4 initial layers, telling the story without the spin, revealing the root, and uncovering the unspoken need, and telling yourself the whole truth, whatever that is, baby, you got to honor the truth with one small action. Because you've become aware now. What are you going to do with this awareness? You got to honor it with one small action. And that's when truth becomes transformation, once it gets honored with movement. And so even a small step can shift everything. Let's not despise the small beginnings and the small steps, because ultimately all those small steps, they build into a bigger step. And that consistency, it often compounds and becomes something bigger than what that small portion is. And so in this layer, we ask ourselves, what is one small step that aligns with what I now know, not what I knew before? I've gained some new truth, some new knowledge, some new understanding. And what is one step? Don't worry about the 15 steps that might be necessary. Let's focus on the one. Because at the end of the day, you can only walk with one foot in front of the other. You can only take one step literally at a time, right? In the physical, when you're trying to get from point A to point B. Let that be your guiding factor. What is the one small step that I can take that aligns with what I know now? Truth. PH Truth Tool. Tell the story without the spin. Reveal the root. Uncover the unspoken need. Tell yourself the whole truth. And then honor the truth with one small action. So I'm going to have you ask yourself, what truth about yourself have you been avoiding? And once you realize that, what would change if you faced it? That's the joy. That's the fruit. That's the benefit that comes from going through facing the truth. What is that truth about yourself you've been avoiding? And what would change if you faced it? Now, Coach Paula is not going to ask you to do something that she doesn't do and is not doing herself. And one of the things I was sharing with some students, I guess the other day within the academy, is that, yes, I write the curriculum, but there's a different thing when I go through the curriculum as a student. It hits me differently, very differently, because I have to be both student and teacher. And so when I was reflecting on this, a couple things bubbled up for me. But one of the things that bubbled up was that, I build a lot of things, classes and courses and frameworks, and, stuff is constantly coming because it seems like my capacity has expanded. And the more I get, like, more and more ideas are coming. And I have found myself, if I'm telling the truth, kind of sort of receiving and pouring. Oh, that was good. Run the social media and post it. Or, oh, let me build something around that. Oh, that was really good, But the truth of the matter is, it's coming to me so fast that I'm not allowing it to take root in me so that it can last. Yeah, it's coming. Ideas are coming, and that's good. And it's good ultimately to share it, but it has to take root. It can't just be a quick pass through. It has to land, take root, maybe grow some more, because what I end up pouring may be far more significant in richness, in tonality, in presentation than what I receive, because I'm receiving seeds. But the true harvest comes from me allowing it to be planted and taking root in me first. So that's what I'm working on at a personal level. What would change if I faced it? I believe I would gain more wisdom and discerning of knowing what to share, when to share, and how to share. And so I believe wisdom would be the fruit of me facing that truth. What is yours? Just like the person here is sitting with her titration instruments and taking that time, I strongly encourage you to sit and take that time and to do that for yourself as well. So, yeah, ask yourself, what truth about yourself have you been avoiding, and what would change if you faced it? So, what are the next steps? As we wind down, there are 3 next steps. Number 1 is download the tool. I flashed it on the screen prior, but I make it available to you as something to put, in your phone as a screensaver, or just as a resource and tool. You can print it out, or just something to reference so that you can step through the layers of the pH Truth Tool. Truth Tool. I made a different word there. My apologies. So you can download, if you scan the QR code, you can download it and make it a resource in your toolbox and toolkit. That's on the far left. In the middle layer is the feedback. This is true titration, where I'm pouring out a little, but you're going to pour it back a little into me. Your feedback is very important. I don't take it lightly. I want to make certain that what I'm sharing is relevant, is digestible and understandable. And so I ask for your feedback. It's not a long form, but if you would scan that QR code and just fill out the survey, each titration talk closes with a feedback request. So that would be very helpful for me. And the third QR code on the far right is joining next month. Like I said, titration talks are the second Friday of every month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And so we will continue in Reflect, but we'll be doing Reflect Intention as our lens. And so ultimately, as we're going through truth, you need to remember that your truth, it doesn't need to be loud. No, truth doesn't necessarily need to be loud, but it does need to be named. Once you know that truth, you need to name it. And then once it's named, like we said, the H, you need to honor it. And so if you join us next month for Titration Talks, we're going to be talking about naming what matters most. And so that'll be our Reflect Intention Titration Talk. I hope that you will join us next month, February 13th at noon. So scan 1, 2, hopefully all 3 of these QR codes, and utilize them to help you and assist on your journey. So thank you so much for joining our Titration Talk this month. Please stay rooted in truth. Stay rooted in what you know. Reclaim the truth of who you are. By all means, visit my website, coachlinks.paulahollis.com. There's plenty of resources that are out there and available to you in both the House of Growth and in the House of Healing, as well as coaching resources. So stay rooted in truth and know that Coach Paula is here for you. Hopefully something I said has shifted your energy and awakened your potential. I'll catch you next month. Take care.